Okay, so you know that really odd feeling
Uh-huh.
when you're kind of moving through your day, you're talking to people, doing your thing, but it feels like there's, I don't know, a pane of glass between you and, well, your own life.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Like, you're there, but not really there.
Exactly. You're present physically, but also somehow distant, like you're just watching it all happen on a screen.
Observing your own experiences unfold.
Yeah, that's the feeling, that unsettling sense of unreality we're diving into today.
It's that feeling of being, yeah, physically in the room, but mentally miles away, isn't it? Like maybe hobbies you used to love just feel like chores now.
Right. Or you're in a conversation and suddenly you realize you've zoned out completely.
Yeah. Or you drive somewhere, arrive, and have basically zero memory of the actual journey, that autopilot thing.
Totally. It's this detachment, and it can really sneak up on you.
What's interesting, too, is that it doesn't always seem to need, like, a huge trigger, does it? No big crisis, necessarily.
Exactly my thought. It can just sort of emerge like the color is slowly draining out of things, that subtle feeling of being removed from yourself.
Yeah. And I suspect, well, we suspect this feeling might be way more common than people talk about.
Especially now, right? With everything going on.
Definitely. So for this deep dive, we've really dug into a bunch of different sources, articles, studies, personal accounts, trying to get a handle on where this feeling might come from.
Yeah, looking at, why it happens, how our modern world maybe makes it worse.
And crucially, maybe some gentle ways to navigate back, to feel a bit more grounded.
Okay, so let's get into it. The roots of this disconnection. Where does it start?
Well, one big theme that came up again and again in the sources was burnout.
Right, but not just feeling tired.
No, exactly. Think of burnout more like your mind's defense mechanism. It's trying to protect itself from just relentless stimulation.
Like constant work demands, emotional output, all that stuff.
Precisely. It's almost like a mental circuit breaker tripping because the load is too high.
That's a great way to put it, a circuit breaker. It feels like more than just needing a holiday.
Definitely. And related to that, the sources also talked about something called mental fatigue.
Okay, how's that different from burnout?
It feels maybe less acute, more like a persistent background hum. You're not necessarily in crisis, like full burnout or, dealing with a diagnosed condition, but you're just depleted, cognitively drained, like trying to think through treacle, even if your day hasn't been objectively hard.
Yeah, I recognize that feeling. Just heavy.
And a huge contributor to this mental fatigue, according to what we read, is our digital environment. It's just immense.
You mean the constant information?
Yeah, the sheer volume.
Oh.
Endless scrolling on social media, the news alerts pinging constantly, notifications.
And embarrassing trap online, too.
Absolutely. We're just soaking in this constant external input, right? And that leaves very little bandwidth for just being, for inhabiting our own thoughts, our own immediate reality.
It's like our attention is always being pulled outwards, so when we try to turn inwards, the tank's already empty.
Pretty much. Our attentional resources are just spread so thin.
And then there was another layer mentioned in the sources, wasn't there? Something about meaning?
Yes. The sort of crisis of meaning idea.
Explain that a bit.
The thinking is, if your life feels like it lacks a clear sense of purpose, if you're mostly just operating day to day, surviving without feeling connected to a bigger why, that underlying lack of meaning, that fundamental disconnect can make everything else feel a bit unreal. Like, what's the point?
I see. So if you don't feel connected to a purpose, it's harder to feel connected to the present moment itself.
That seems to be the idea. And linking this back to the internet, it really does seem to be a double-edged sword here.
How so?
Well, like we said, the online world is often so curated, right?
Yeah.
Fast-paced, sometimes quite surreal, even idealized.
Yeah, everyone's best life on display.
Exactly. And compared to that, our actual everyday lives, which are naturally more messy, maybe slower, less dramatic, can feel kind of muted, less vibrant.
It sets up this impossible comparison. Your normal Tuesday afternoon versus someone's curated vacation montage.
Precisely. And social media especially can really amplify that feeling of being a spectator.
Right, just watching other people apparently living their best lives.
While you feel like you're just sort of observing yours, not fully participating, less real somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it's not all negative online, is it?
No, and that's a really important counterpoint that came up too. The sources were clear that the internet isn't just a void of disconnection.
Okay.
Think about it. Sometimes online content can be a source of real connection. like a podcast that really resonates.
Or music that hits you emotionally.
Or finding poetry or art online that speaks to you. For many people, those digital spaces can be places of genuine feeling and connection.
So it has that duality. It can contribute to the unreality, but also offer ways back to feeling something authentic.
Exactly. It's complex.
That's a really vital distinction.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we are feeling that sense of unreality, that disconnect, what do we tend to do about it? The sources mention some common coping strategies, right? But ones that maybe don't actually help.
Yeah. Paradoxically, some common responses can actually make things worse in the long run.
Like what?
Well, consider the urge to just work harder. Overwork.
The productivity fix.
Right. If you feel disconnected or empty, throwing yourself into tasks can give you a temporary sense of control, of achievement.
Makes you feel like you're doing something.
Exactly. But often it just feeds the underlying burnout or fatigue, so that feeling of emptiness comes back even faster, maybe even stronger.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Another one is the constant need for external stimulation. Always needing plans, always needing distractions.
Keeping busy so you don't have to feel it.
Kind of, but that constant chase for the next thing can actually prevent you from just being present, from engaging with the quieter moments where connection might actually happen.
So you're always looking ahead, never really here.
Precisely. And then there's seeking validation online.
The likes, the comments, the follower counts.
Yeah, that can give you a quick hit, a fleeting sense of being seen, of mattering.
Like your dopamine rush.
But because it's external, often superficial, it doesn't really touch that deeper feeling of disconnection. So when the digital applause fades...
The feeling comes back.
Exactly. These strategies often just offer temporary relief, not a real solution.
Okay. So if those common approaches are often counterproductive, what does help? What did the sources suggest?
Well, first off, a really reassuring point was just acknowledging that this feeling is actually pretty normal. It's a common part of being human, especially today. You're not alone in feeling it.
It's good to hear, honestly. It can feel quite isolating.
Definitely. And from there, the suggestions were mostly about gentle ways to start reconnecting with the present moment. Nothing drastic.
What kind of things?
Things like intentionally engaging with your physical body.
How do you mean?
Simple stuff. Movement, stretching, even just grounding exercises like really noticing the feeling of your feet on the floor or the weight of your body in the chair. Things that pull you back into your physical sensations.
Okay. Anchoring yourself in the physical.
Exactly. Another really interesting suggestion was around creative expression, and this is key, without the pressure of an audience.
So not for Instagram or anything.
Right, just for you. Writing in a journal nobody reads, doodling in a notebook, playing an instrument just for the sound of it.
Focusing on the process, not the outcome.
Precisely. It allows for a different kind of engagement, one that's just about the act itself, the feeling of it, not about external validation.
I like that. Less pressure.
And then maybe the most fundamental thing, practices focused on simply being present, without needing to achieve anything or produce anything.
Just existing.
Kind of, yeah. Like mindfully engaging your senses, really tasting your food, noticing the details on a walk, the light, the sounds, the smells, or listening fully to a piece of music without multitasking.
Deliberately shifting focus from doing to being.
You got it. A conscious move away from constant output and towards just inhabiting the moment you're actually in.
That sounds simple, but probably quite hard to do consistently.
It is. And the sources were really clear. This isn't about a quick fix. It's not like flicking a switch.
Right.
Re-engaging, reconnecting. It's usually a gradual process, gentle. It takes patience, self-compassion, little moments adding up.
Yeah. Speaking personally, I've definitely had stretches where life felt, surreal. Like I was watching myself from just outside my own body. Even when things looked fine on the surface, there's this weird detachment. And for me, consciously trying to notice really small sensory things has helped.
Like what?
Like really focusing on the texture of my jumper or the exact smell of coffee brewing or the warmth of the sun on my skin for just a second. Tiny little anchors.
Anchors in the present.
Yeah. They don't make the feeling vanish forever, but they do seem to pull me back into the now.
Yeah.
Even if just for a moment, that detached feeling can still creep back in, for sure.
Of course. But just recognizing it now and having a few gentle things I can try, it makes a difference. It feels less overwhelming.
That's a really honest reflection, and it touches on a key message from everything we looked at. It is a shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shame in it.
Mm-hmm.
And while the solutions aren't always simple or immediate, just that awareness, acknowledging the feeling when it arises, that's a huge first step, a
Yeah.
really crucial one.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder, if you listening have ever felt like you're just watching your life instead of living it, you're definitely not the only one.
Far from it.
So we hope this deep dive maybe shed some light on why that might happen and offered some gentle, practical ideas for maybe starting to reconnect, just finding your way back to the richness of your own life, one moment at a time.
Yeah.
What feels like the most important takeaway for you, for someone listening?
I think it's the power of those small moments, the cumulative effect.
Yeah. In a world that is constantly yanking our attention elsewhere, to screens, to the future, to worries, the simple, deliberate act of choosing to engage with the here and now, even in a tiny way, whatever feels doable for you in that moment, that's the ongoing practice. That's what builds resilience against that feeling of unreality. It's not about some massive overhaul.
It's the journey, the continuous,
Yeah.
gentle turning back towards presence.
Exactly. The ongoing journey of re-engagement with our own lives.
That's a really lovely and, grounding thought to end on. Thanks for digging into this with me.
My pleasure.
And to you, our listener, maybe take a moment after this.
Yeah.
Reflect on your own experiences with feeling connected or disconnected. And perhaps think about one small, present moment you could intentionally notice or cultivate today.